Welcome back to Student Hub Live. Well, this is our afternoon session. I've enjoyed my break. I decided to celebrate by coming downstairs. So now that I've done that, all the excitement's over for the day. HJ, what did you end up doing in your break?
I ended up having lunch, probably something not too healthy, but that's okay. We're students; we're allowed to eat junk food. And I caught up on emails, so I think I was, productive, and I was looking after myself at the same time, which was good. But we're having a good time in the chat. Everyone's coming back, which is great. And if you've just joined us, you should know that anything goes in the chat. So any thoughts, comments, or questions for our fantastic guests, let us know. Or if there's anything you want to share with us, we've had some great study tips this morning, and we've been sharing some of the things we like to do to look after ourselves in our spare time as well, which is fantastic. So keep it coming. And there's some widgets to your left as well. So we want to know how you're feeling, what you're worried about, where you are, and what level you're at. And it just shows what a nice variety of people we've got in the chat today.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, HJ, I think that sounds very diligent in terms of doing your things, but I'm not sure our next guests would agree that that's really caring for yourself. Probably they wouldn't think that what I'd done either was, but nonetheless, let's find out, because it's very important to have a good work-life balance, I think, in particular when we're studying and when those demands increase on our time. So our next session is Stay Well, Study Well, looking after yourself and your studies. And I'm joined by Emma Greenstein and Mychelle Pride. Welcome both. So Emma has a background in counselling and has worked for the Open University for 30 years in a number of different roles. She's been a tutor and educational advisor, and she also works as a mental health advisor for us, doing some wonderful work. And Mychelle is our head of student experience for the Faculty of Business and Law and is often involved in Student Hub Live events. So welcome both. So we've got some widgets as well about how you're feeling about your studies and what you're worried about in terms of studies. But we're going to focus on well-being now. So I wondered if we might begin this session by thinking about what well-being means. What do we actually mean by this word, and how does that connect to our studies, Mychelle?
Well, I like to think of well-being as being well, and it's about our whole human existence. It's about our body, it's about our mind. They are interconnected. So well-being is about looking after yourself. And I ask myself, am I eating well? Am I sleeping well? Am I exercising well? Am I hobbying well? What are my hobbies? Am I doing them well? And so forth. So those are the kinds of questions that I like to ask myself, because everybody has well-being. And well-being, if you are feeling well, and you are well, you will study better. So you can approach your studies with an open mind and a positive attitude. But if your well-being's not very good, you might think, oh, what a drag, I have to study, and you're not receiving anything. I'm sure we have all been there, where we've read the same line 10 times and not understood what it has said because we haven't been taking care of ourselves. So it's really important that we do look after ourselves. And everybody has well-being, regardless of whether or not you have a mental health condition. So you might have a diagnosed mental health condition that you are managing well and have really good well-being, or you might have no mental health condition and very poor well-being because you're not looking after yourself. You're putting all of your other priorities first, maybe. So it's really important that no matter where you are on this framework or spectrum of mental health and well-being, that if you start yourself going a little bit and you're not sure what to do, that you get help. You can ask our student support team, you can ask our tutor, and there are lots of other ways that we'll talk about today that you can make sure that your well-being is a positive thing.
No, that's really, really important. And we've seen a lot of this actually with some of the love and attention that students have been giving their study spaces. We've been asking for some pictures of study spaces, and some people have really focused on making them really, nourishing for themselves. Well, I'll show you some of them in a little while. Well, this is an interesting point actually, because I wanted to think about how we maintain our well-being. And you mentioned something really interesting, hobbies. And I know that outside of the space, Mychelle, you and I have been talking about our various hobbies, which we like to do. We both have fairly unusual hobbies. Mychelle is a keen ice skater, but has recently hurt herself on the ice. And I like doing triathlon. And both of us have been challenged with some of these things because of the various situations at the moment. And we've had to rethink our hobbies and realise how important they are to us. So I wonder, Emma, what do you think about some of the ways in which we can use hobbies and things in our well-being in terms of how we can nourish ourselves and do things that make us feel happy?
Hi, Karen. Yeah, hobbies are so important because it's all about striking that balance between activities so that although everyone's, I'm sure, really excited to get going with their studies, we don't forget that there are other in which we can make ourselves happy ourselves. So finding time to do things that just make you happy, that you can connect with other people as well. So for many of us, our hobbies are our way of connecting with others who have shared interests. Really, really important. And a lot of us do hobbies that take us out of, I don't know, out of our worries and into the moment. So I imagine, Mychelle, when you're ice skating, you have to absolutely concentrate on what you're doing. You can't be worrying about deadlines, marking, student queries, anything on that ice. And for me, when I'm done or singing or doing my photography, which is my big passion, it just takes me into that moment. So it's a really good way of relaxing and releasing those sort of endorphins that we need to keep going, so we don't just become so focused on our work. So yeah, hobbies are really, really important, Karen.
No, I think so. We'd like to know what your hobbies are at home. We've got a word cloud there for that. If you have one hobby, then just put a full stop or a cross in the other box and we can see what interesting sorts of things you like. I know there were lots of discussions about things like knitting earlier, something that my 11-year-old daughter got into for, I think, about 12 minutes or so after I'd managed to purchase her the whole lot of equipment that she needed for the said knitting activity. But yes, it's good to try these things, and it's even better to have a passion and some sense of longevity for them as well, isn't it? So we'll come and see what your hobbies are in just a moment. Emma, I know when we've done workshops, you've often used various frameworks or ways of thinking about things. And I find these quite useful because often things like well-being can be quite ethereal. But you talk about 5 ways of well-being. And I think that those are quite useful. Can we work through some of those and tell students what they mean and maybe if you want to write some of those down, it could be nice to do at home as well and think about what's going to work for you.
Yeah, of course. So it is about a blend of activities that kind of appeal to the different elements in life that we need to attend to. So the first one is connecting with others. Really, really important during this year and last year during the time of relative isolation during the lockdowns and the pandemic. We need to find ways every day or certainly every week to connect with other people in our lives who make us happy, we feel safe with, we feel stimulated by, good conversations. So that can be by telephone, online. Being here today is a way of connecting with others. So I'm hoping you're all getting a sense that you're not alone. There are lots of other students out there, lots of us members of staff to connect. So connecting with other members of the OU community, and you'll have so many opportunities to connect with other students on your module and across the university and within the Students' Association as well. So connecting with others, both OU related and within your personal lives and your community, is really important for well-being. Along with connecting with others, needing to be active every day. So doing something that's right for your level of fitness, maybe to develop your fitness, but actually physical activity, really good for mental well-being. There's such a connection between our bodies and our. So don't just sit at your desk working away all day. Get out there into the world, run up and down the stairs. I make sure I run up and down the stairs every hour. I look crazy, but that's what I do. So every hour, stretch, run up and down the stairs. For some people, it might be more gentle, it might be yoga, something like that. So the connecting with others and the being active, really important.
Emma,
Keeping
your
learning
connection's a
is
little bit,
the third one.
your connection, Emma, is going a little bit
Am I
funny
breaking
every
up?
now and then. Yeah, you've got a storm
Oh,
cloud.
yes.
Did you have snow on the weekend by you?
No, we didn't.
So we had loads of snow. It was so exciting. In
Oh,
fact, some of it's still here, but we've had lots of stormy weather. So I just wondered if there was stormy weather by you. But yeah,
I don't think so.
Oh, well, you're breaking up a tiny bit, but that's okay. Because I just want to make sure that people, we all worry, is it my connection? Is it something else? And that's absolutely fine. We'll just sort of go over some of the things that you've said as well there so that people know. But we also have a list of people's hobbies as well that people have been filling in. And I think this relates really well to what you were saying about being active and doing things that you enjoy. So we've spoken about the connections, and I guess
So
hobbies can
important.
be a connection. But here we've seen people like doing things like reading, knitting, yoga, swimming, art, drawing, baking, napping. Napping is a good one. Walking, sleeping, sewing, upcycling furniture. My friend's been doing that. Chicken keeping, cooking, Netflix. Netflix has got to be essential. Diamond painting. Wow, that sounds amazing. Football, walking, comedy, music, baking, crafting. So lots and lots of different things there that people have got for a variety of hobbies. And isn't it wonderful how people like doing different things? The next thing that's on your list, Emma, is about curiosity. And I'm just sort of reflecting on some of those, thinking, wouldn't it be interesting to do that? But trying new stuff is really important, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is so stimulating to have a challenge to learn something new. And I think one of the side effects of last year is that we've all been given some different opportunities to learn new things in different ways. So, my mother's in her 80s and she was missing playing bridge, but she's learned to play bridge online. So she's got friends now all over the world that she plays bridge with. So something new. Am I free, Karen? Have I frozen again? Am I
Yeah, Emma,
cutting
I'm
out?
sorry.
Okay.
It's not
No
your
worries.
fault. It's the
Just
internet. It's just tricky, isn't it? Maybe I can go through some of these other ones with Mychelle, but because I don't want people to miss
sure.
some of the wonderful
No, no,
opportunities here.
please
So
do.
yeah, so, but certainly do pop in with things. So we've covered this whole idea of connecting with other people and with places and things, and that's really important. Being active, being curious, and keeping learning. And I guess that's one thing that so many people will be doing now as they're starting their new modules. Not only learning new things, but also maybe learning how to use new computer systems, using new pieces of software, using new ways of relating to a tutor or other peers. So there's lots and lots of learning that we may not always give ourselves credit for. And the other one that I really like, the last one on your list, is about giving. And so many of these models of well-being are about giving. Mychelle, you are a very, very giving person, and you always give a lot of your time to other people, even though I know you actually don't have a lot of it, and you're off sick at the moment with a broken arm, and yet you're here. What does giving do in terms of making you feel better and looking after your own well-being? And when is it a good time to give, and maybe time to step away from things?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, we'll talk about this a little bit, but it's knowing yourself. And do you have the space, whether that's physical space or mental space or financial space or whatever it might be, to give? But there are lots of ways that you can give to people. Just smiling, just picking up the phone, just sending a text message. Or my friend recently sent me a card, a handmade card. Now that's her hobby, but it cheered me up immensely. So there are lots of different ways that we can give. And if actually new students, one of the great things that they can do is they can get involved with the Students Association. And the OU Students Association has a volunteer page. And there's lots of ways that they can go, so you as students can go and volunteer. And I think that's great because, yes, it's about helping others and also helping yourself at the same time. I think, when you're feeling down, it's very easy to get lost within yourself. And giving to other people really helps you feel better. And of course, it helps the other people too. So.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, this is a next point that we wanted to cover, and it's around looking after your well-being. We're going to take a look and see what the word cloud says about how you look after your well-being in just a minute. So if you haven't filled that in, just add one or two things to that box and we can see some of the answers there. This whole notion, I think, around COVID right now, and for so many of us being furloughed or maybe having less of a structure, means that our routines can be really, really thrown out of kilter. And for some people, this has been really hard. I know you, Mychelle, have struggled with this also because being poorly and being physically unwell has meant that you've been sleeping a lot, and that's just thrown all sorts of things over the place. But routine is really important, and I wonder if you can say a bit about that from your experience, Mychelle, and Emma, maybe if you can say something then about why that is known to be so important.
Yes, Karen, we talk about hygiene factors, and one of those hygiene factors for me is having a routine. And you might talk about sleep hygiene, and I've really struggled with this, as you know. In January, I seem to either be sleeping too much or conversely not sleeping enough. So, the other night I went to bed, it was 1 a.m. I was pleased with myself, but 4:45, I'm still lying there wide awake with all these thoughts going through my head. So it is really important that we do have a balance, that we do have a daily routine so that we can give ourselves a sense of achievement. And by having a daily routine, that also forces you to stay connected with other people if you build it into your routine. So it's really important that you have the opportunity to connect with other people and feel close as part of your routine. And then also we've spoken about the balance. And I said when I started, about your sleep time, about your eating time, your exercise time, your socializing time, your family time. Obviously, you've got work time. Well, not everybody has work time, but a lot of people have work time. So having that daily routine that involves a balance of activities really does help you feel better. It helps you with your mood, and it helps you just have more of a sense of pleasure, because it's very easy to fall. When I know when I fell out of a routine with my broken arm and the surgery, oh my gosh, I was beside myself some days, Karen, as you know. So it's really important to have that routine to make yourself feel like a human being. I think it's really important to that. And that comes back to that being well, doesn't it? It's that whole balance of all those things so that you can feel well and you can study well. It's a very exciting time of year. It's the first day of February. People listening are starting on a new adventure with their studies, which is really exciting. And that ticks a lot of the boxes that Emma talked about with learning and being curious and being active and connecting. So you're already, and I mean, giving can be helping another student who might be struggling with a concept. So you can do all of those things that Emma talked about, the 5 ways to well-being, just by starting out on your studies. And I would say build in a routine for your studies as well. Make sure you have a plan for when you are going to study. And that's really helpful. It's really important that you try and stick that plan. But I think, Emma will agree with me. At the end of the day, it's really important that you are gentle or kind with yourself. And you have to forgive yourself if you fall out of a routine, and just remind yourself, I know what I can do. I can get back into a routine. Tomorrow is another day.
Well, luckily, Mychelle, this is all recorded, and I'm going to play that back
absolutely.
to you later so that you're not too hard on yourself, because it is hard, isn't it, to have that advice.
Yeah.
Emma, tell us a little bit about this balance between things, because it's important that routine isn't just all the good stuff or the bad stuff. It's not just a big
Yeah.
Netflix fest, is it? What are some of the things that
Oh,
are important to balance?
yeah, absolutely. There are three things that we need to be balancing every day, really, to maintain that well-being. So every day we need to be doing something that helps us move towards our goals, a sense of achievement. So ticking things off our list, moving towards doing some reading or work towards an assignment. So something that gives us a sense of achievement every day is important. We also need every day that gives us a sense to others. And so we're not becoming isolated and just really bogged down with our work. And every day it's important to do something just for pleasure, to relax, for fun, to release from any pressures that you may be experiencing. Now, obviously, in the lead up to a deadline, you may be focusing more on the working towards achievement, or you may be losing yourself in procrastination and lying on the sofa watching box sets. And the guilt will build up if that happens for you. So it's important every day to not beat up on yourself, as Mychelle said, be really kind, but think, okay, maybe today I spent too long on Netflix, and tomorrow I really am going to motor on with my work. And actually, I haven't spoken to my friend for 3 days, so I'm going to build in time for a quick phone call. So it's about reviewing every day what works for you and trying to make some tweaks. Little tweaks make big changes when it comes to balance. And so over the week as a whole, have you tick the boxes of achievement, connection, and doing things for pleasure? Really super important.
Absolutely. So often we just forget those things that are really pleasurable, and sometimes they don't even have to be big things. They can just be something little
No.
that makes you feel happy, and it just sort of pays dividends, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm all for multitasking. So actually, for me, a phone call to my best friend for half an hour is for pleasure and it's connection. So that's my pleasure and connection ticked off for the day.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely. HJ, how's everything at home? And I hear you've got some really good questions for our guests.
Yeah, so we've got loads of fantastic stuff happening in the chat, and I know there's a lot of people that are joining us. So anyone who is just joining us, say hello. Anything goes in the chat, and I know our wonderful guests would love to hear from you. And I've got Matt in the chat as well from the student support team, and Matt's been helping us with our questions. And so anything you can think of, even if it's not related to the session we're talking about, I know that we'd love to try and help you out there. And there's loads of great hobbies that we're talking about and things that we're doing. So Shane's learning acoustic guitar. Elaine used to run a book club for the blind and has signed up to help with the local garden, which supports a counselling charity. Danielle says running is great for getting outside and just clearing your head. And Georgina recommends just going on YouTube because there's a lot of videos and sessions for like guided breathing and meditation and mindfulness. So taking some time out, and it seems that we've got a lot of people who enjoy singing in the chat. So Katie enjoys drumming and classical singing. I think myself, I'm not too much of a singer, but you know, I'll always give it a shot in the shower or in the car. But yeah, there's loads of exciting things, and we've got Tala in the chat as well, who's sharing these OU clubs that we can join if we're interested in these types of things. So not only do we have our own passions, we can share it with each other and hopefully get a bit better. So yeah, there's loads of great ways that we're looking after ourselves and taking time out here.
Brilliant. Thank you, HJ. That's absolutely wonderful. And a big welcome if you are just joining us this afternoon. And you can catch up on what we've covered this morning a little bit later. That will all be available and chopped up very soon. But we've also got lots and lots of assets on our Student Hub Live YouTube page. And you can catch up on the website also. So please don't worry if you are just joining us today. And if you have got questions, as we say, please do make the most of our student support team in the chat, because they know pretty much everything there is to know. In fact, I'll see if we can get a nice picture of Matt so you can see what he looks like in just a moment, and he's answering all the questions on the chat. Here we go. This is the lovely Matt. So thank you for being with us here, Matt, today. So thinking then about a lot of this stuff. So we've got these balancing of activities and things, but we also know that some times of the day we're very alert. So I'm really, really best in the mornings, and then nighttime not so much. So if I have to think really hard about something, I know that there's a better time to do it than other times. How do we work with our energy levels, and how do we sort of keep ourselves motivated with those sorts of things? We've heard advice before, like coffee, but then I was told that wasn't such a good idea all the time. She says hiding the coffee cup.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, Karen. That we are all subconsciously all the time trying to shift our energy levels or reduce our tension. We're not even aware of it a lot of the time. But you're absolutely right. There'll be times of the day when you're more alert, more energetic than others. So it's about learning and experimenting. When you feel at your most energetic, and trying to match the activities you need to do to the times of the day when you can be most focused and energetic. And it's interesting to notice what you can do to try and raise those energy levels beyond reaching for a bar of chocolate and a cup of coffee, things that will boost your energy without having the crash at the other side. So somebody mentioned going for a run. You know, I run up and down the stairs, a quick walk around the garden, get some fresh air, and then come back and you'll find your energy levels perhaps have been raised. There'll be other times of the day when you might feel a little bit tired and tense and lethargic. So it's sometimes about finding activities that you can do to reduce tension and raise energy. So I'd be interested to know what people do. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful creative ways that we can either reduce our tension or raise our energy. So I've heard of people, you know, doing some power dancing, you know, headphones on, music up, and dancing around the house like nobody's watching. Not best if you're trying to unwind at the end of the day, but if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you want to raise those energy levels, you might want to try that. So yeah, it's about just being aware of your natural cycles of energy and fatigue, and experimenting with healthy things that you can do to lift your mood, raise your spirits, and boost your energy when you need that extra boost to plow on.
Brilliant. Mychelle, let's see what people at home had to say about how they look after their well-being. And I think this will have some nice ideas that we can look at. So let's see what people had to say here. Hobbies coming up as key thing: meditation, exercise, walking, sleep, music. So lots of wonderful ways that you can all see on screen about things that people have shared. Mychelle, what do you do to reduce your tension?
Well, I would like to say that I eat Welsh cakes, but actually no. For me, it really is about clearing my head. So absolutely, I can't run, but I can go out and take a walk. So that's really important, and that helps me relax, and it raises my energy levels. And I also do quite a bit of yoga and stretching and Pilates, and I find that I'm always energized after that. And then trying to calm down and cool myself down before going to bed, I'll do some gentle stretching as well. So not the vigorous stretching that I do if I take a Pilates class or a yoga class, but at the end of the night, just some gentle being aware of your body and your toes, and just working your way through your body and being aware. That really helps, just kind of gives your focus to yourself and centers you and helps you feel calmer as well. But fresh air is always a great idea, and drink lots of water.
Absolutely. No, it's very good. And we've had other things there like yoga, swimming, and knowing when to stop, which I think is a really key one. Tai Chi, reading the newspaper. So some wonderful things that people at home are doing there as well. We're getting so short on time. And there were two things I really wanted to cover. One is about how to manage worries, and the other is to tell students about a resource that they can use as Open University students. Can we just talk about the management of anxieties and worries very briefly, Mychelle?
Very quickly,
I know
yeah.
that this is something that we've done before, and students can catch up on some of the fab sessions that we've spent a lot more time dealing with this on YouTube. But what's your advice to students about how to cope when they are feeling it's all a bit much?
So everybody worries. It's okay to worry. And some people need to worry because they have to process the thought to move to the next stage. So don't beat yourself up because you're worrying. However, identify, is this a real problem, an actual problem, or is this a hypothetical worry? And let's take COVID, for example. Okay, so COVID is happening. You can take control of that by washing your hands, isolating when you need to, distancing, and so forth. That's a real problem and a real solution. Or you can worry yourself about how many people might die, about the different strains that come in. Is the vaccine going to work? So you can have all of those hypothetical worries, and you can imagine the worst case scenario. And that is actually really debilitating. So it's really important that you think about, when you are well, I would suggest that you create a self-care toolbox and you put in it resources that will help you stay calm and manage your anxiety. So when you're well, think about, okay, what can I do to stay calm? What can I do to address my worries? What are real worries? What are hypothetical worries? Writing down your worries is a great thing. And I, Karen, as you know, cannot not talk about my worry monster. You can get a worry monster, write your worries down, put your worries in, and that can help you feel better too. So absolutely, real worries, hypothetical worries, take control and do the things that you know, identifying your own triggers for stress, identifying the signs. Haven't eaten a long time, I'm getting really hangry, I need to do it. Don't let yourself get to that stage. So those are the kinds of things I would suggest, Karen.
No, that's perfect. And often when
A
we're in those
whirlwind tour.
positions and stressed, it's brilliant. There's so much in there, Mychelle. When we're really stressed, it's often the last time we can think about those things. And so having those things in a toolkit, I know that I've got to go for a run if I'm feeling really stressed. I do not want to, but as soon as I push myself out that door, I feel a lot better. Emma, can we end by talking about Together All, which is a service that students have got. So if we just show students what this website's like and just tell them about the resource, then I know students have lots of tabs open because they're super at multitasking, and HJ can put the link in the chat. But very, very briefly, because we are nearly, we're out of time.
Yeah, sure. So Together All, bit of a mouthful to say, but Together All is an online mental health and wellbeing service that all of our students can access free of charge. Then there are the courses that people can take, and the courses can help you with managing difficult emotions, coping with bereavement and loss, dealing with depression and anxiety. A whole range of courses you can take. And then there are the resources which include self-assessment tests. So if you are concerned that you're becoming consumed with worries and becoming anxious, you may want to do a self-assessment test, which will then direct you to other resources and sources of support. So check it out, and the details will be on this site afterwards.
Brilliant. That's absolutely wonderful. And it's 24/7. And as you say, managed by counsellors. So there's lots that you can do to either self-evaluate whether you want to take anything further, but also know that there are many others available to connect with. So thank you both so much. It's been a really lovely session. I always feel so bad having to end every single session when I just feel like I could talk the whole day. But we've got so much else to cover. So Mychelle and Emma, thank you very, very much for joining me. HJ, we will be back to talk about some study spaces after this break, and I want to show some more because we've had heaps in and they're absolutely brilliant. Judging this is going to be so difficult. So we're going to show you a video now about studying with kids. Grab a drink if you haven't got one already, and then we're going to come back and talk about balancing study while pregnant or mothering young children. So that's going to be really interesting whether or not you are or are not doing those things. But stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a few moments.